All right, welcome back to the Growth Blueprint podcast, the show where coaching and consulting agency owners share how they're building businesses that genuinely transform lives. We dig into the systems, the stories, and the different mindsets behind sustainable growth and client breakthroughs. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Shelly Bostrom. She's the founder of Align My Practice. She's got nearly 30 years experience in orthodontics and dentistry. And Shelly combines her clinical know-how, her sales savvy, and her operational expertise to help practices scale while building culture and excellence. She's here to teach us how to level up your team, streamline your operations, and grow your patient base. So let's dive in. Shelly, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris, thanks so much for having me.
Well, first, I always like to just give people the quick few minutes here to give us your introduction, a little bit about your inspiration. So where you came from and give us an intro.
Oh, thank you. You did such a great job, kind of like nailing everything about what I do. But yes, I'm the owner and founder of Align My Practice. I am a team coach and business practice consultant. I work mostly with orthodontic practices. So if you're not in the dental world, that's like braces, Invisalign, things like that. But I also work with general practice dentists or pediatric dentists if they are wanting to integrate or implement orthodontic treatment or Invisalign or clear aligners. And I work a lot with practices doing airway treatment modalities to just not only make beautiful smiles, but to also just better the lives of their patients with nasal breathing and just overall health, kind of more of a holistic approach. Yes, I'm dating myself, but I've been in this industry for 3 decades. And I think that what makes me kind of unique as a practice consultant is that I've held every single role within the practice on the clinical end, which is where I started, marketing, sales, management, insurance, financials, you name it, I've done it. So I think that allows me to really align with the teams that I'm working with and help them get the buy-in to why the doctor may have hired me, to help to implement systems. Sometimes it's hard to get your team on board with whatever business you're running. Maybe you're trying to integrate AI and there's maybe a little bit of pushback because team members, once they have a way of doing things and it's successful, it's hard to implement change, but I always say there's no growth without change. So I really just help doctors in their practices accomplish their dreams that they want to accomplish, scale and be adaptable and have that sustainable growth.
So let's dive into sort of like that dream aspect. Like, what are some of these doctors looking to do, or what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah. So I do travel. My husband and I are like recent empty nesters. And so I do have the ability to travel and being on site with these practices. That's really special for me and my team because it's different than just the virtual coaching. We can really immerse ourselves as a team member, walk through the office through the eyes of the patient, listen to their scripting, watch their just workflow. But I also take great pride in the virtual training that I offer as well. I think that's another just great way that technology has allowed us to be really engaging. It's just not watching a recording or something like that. But typically when doctors reach out to me, their business is at a plateau. They maybe don't have an office manager and they're struggling with accountability with their team. And so I have a course curriculum for every single role within the practice. So like your front desk scheduler, your treatment coordinator, your, clinical supervisor, your marketing coordinator, all those different roles that really make a practice, operationally sound. And then I do your traditional, business coaching consulting where we're looking at growth and metrics and data and overhead. I always like helping my doctors run lean and healthy and smart while creating a great culture and just helping help to get the team on board to align with whatever their mission and vision is for their practice.
Got it. Interesting. So when you're doing this and you've been doing this for so long, like what are some major shifts that you're starting to see in this area, in this part of
Yeah.
the, yeah.
Yeah. Doctors' stress reducing. I think that's the main thing. You know, doctors, they go to dental school to be a fantastic clinician, but they don't really learn a lot about business and
Right.
HR and team, and that, you know, all those things that as team members, they're looking for that leadership. They're looking for consistency. They want to not feel like a hamster on the wheel. They want to,
Right.
you know, feel like they are really doing a great job, that they're feeling valued and appreciated. But, you know, I'll have doctors call me and say, Shelly, I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. Susie didn't even take out the trash last night. And I asked them, does Susie know that it's her job to take out the trash? Because I think a lot of like the younger, you know, career folks these days, they really need direction. You just can't assume that they know that they need to take out the trash. And how
Right.
do you want them to take out the trash? I know it seems so trivial, but like, do you want them to put a liner back in? Where does the trash go? Where is the dumpster located? Are there two different dumpsters? You know,
Right.
you really need to, that's part of, I think, business 101 is really creating these standard operating procedures so that your team members have very black and white, clear guidance on what you want from them, so they can go into work feeling very confident about what they need to do. And at the end of the day, they feel very confident about what they did. And the doctor isn't, you know, stressing out unnecessarily.
Now, how is, you know, how have those trends, I don't know, I'm just like, how are those trends impacted your business? Like when you do see these shifts,
Yeah.
and you're obviously telling them about them and,
Yeah.
you know, sort of just creating that awareness, and, you know, has that impacted your business, being aware of or trying to be aware of these shifts?
Yeah. So I guess the way that it impacts my business is that it works. My, you know, systems, just because I've been in this business for so long, and
Yeah.
things that seem kind of simple for me because it's my business and where my passion is to really help these doctors not be stressed, love their jobs, find that harmony and balance in their life. So they're
Yeah.
not, you know, I think in order to be a good, successful business owner, you need to develop your core leadership group and be able to coach and empower them so that you can be outside of your business and not like in the thick of it. Because if
Yeah.
you're in the thick of it, you can't grow. You shouldn't be
Right.
working in your business. You got to work on your business. So
Right.
I guess the way that it's affected me is just great joy when I'm able to help a practice and help a doctor, you know, create and align those systems, help them be better leaders to empower their team to, you know, team turnover is always a challenge, and so you need to be able to keep your team happy and keep them challenged and creative and feel valued. So it affects my business because, you know, they continue using my services and they'll tell
Right.
a friend. So just, you know, and I always say too, it's always my goal as a coach to help these doctors and teams, but I truly learn from all these practices that I work with. I mean, I know a lot, I don't know everything. I always want to, you know, have that personal professional growth as well. So
Yeah.
when I'm going into these practices, I take little pearls from my experiences with them as well, so that I can, you know, just keep growing and sharing myself.
That's great. I mean, it's one of the things that you have to just, you gain as experience goes on and on. Yeah, you pull the little pearls from each one and hopefully save each one. Oh, perfect. What would you say, you know, what metrics, oh, I guess, how long does it typically last, like with a client? Are you typically a couple months, or is it over a year-long period, or how do
Yeah.
you organize your business?
Yeah. So it's a couple different ways. If I have a practice who is really, let's say they're thriving, they're excelling, they're healthy, they're profitable, they've got a nice positive culture, but they
Yeah.
maybe just have a new team member that needs onboarding and training, they could just pick one of my training classes and I can teach them to be amazing at their job. And I've got other practices who are startup practices. They're, they just bought a practice. Maybe it was an existing practice. Maybe it's built from the ground up practice. And I help them from the very beginning develop these systems, help them hire their team and train and get all the necessary things that are required to open up a practice. And then I've got practices that do my business consulting, coaching, membership, where we meet virtually monthly and we evaluate the month before for business and we talk about it. We just don't rattle off the numbers and the data, but I teach them kind of the why behind the numbers. What does it mean? Recognize areas of, success, recognize areas where we have room to improve. And then together, we're putting together strategies on how to just continue just elevating and growing. So I have some practices that I've worked with for years and we're just constantly working in the business. And then I have others that are really solid. They hire me for one course. And then we stay connected. And then as they continue to grow, they might come back and we might do new training or have me out on site and see, okay, Shelly was out last year and we did all this, but now I'm starting to see things dip a little bit. We might be falling into some old habits. So I'll go back out again and kind of refire everybody up.
Nice. Do you have a story perhaps off the top of your head that, that you were able to sort of, tailor this training or find the right training program for a struggling office or one that wasn't doing so well and then it turned around? And
yeah, gosh, I have so many stories. Really, I'm very proud to say that every single person I've worked with has had growth. They just need to have like an ally, a partner to kind of help them see that vision, and then just the consistency of continue to implement what I've coached them on. I guess one story is just a startup practice. She was a brand new startup practice and literally built the practice from the ground up. So when we connected, she had one employee and not a lot of patients. And so her goal was to really connect with her community. So one of my courses I teach is ground marketing community engagement. So of course, websites and SEO and Google ads and all of that is really important. But also what a lot of practices don't focus enough on is that ground marketing and forming the relationships in your networking with your other local dental professionals, your local elementary schools, connecting with the youth sports teams, really just building that network locally so that you are kind of a well-known face to the community. So my success with her is we really did all of my training programs and her team grew and grew and grew. And it's only been 2 years and she's ready to open up her second location. So that's really wonderful.
That's excellent. What metrics would you say that you're focused on improving, like for your business, not necessarily for someone else's? Are you focusing on anything currently right now, or?
I'm always looking at the metrics. I always tell my clients, like, I don't want to rule the world. I don't want to be like the number one practice consultant. That's not my goal. I also value like balance and a good harmony in my life with, work and play and family and friends and kids and husband and all of that. Yeah. So my practice goals are just to be able to scale in a way where my clients still feel like we're a boutique practice consultant company. I'm not your kind of consultant who's gonna, go on a stage with hundreds of dentists and do my spiel and then never interact with them again. I can do that. I've done that. It's not, my passion isn't public speaking. My passion is really the more intimate connection with my doctors and their teams. So my goal, I suppose, would be to continue doing what I'm doing, giving the great service and building my team of consultants so that we can just, increase our bandwidth, if you will, and still have it feel like a very boutique consultant company where they get the attention that they need. I mean, their livelihood, these, doctors, this is their everything. It has to succeed. It's how they put food on the table and pay off dental school. So it's important for me that I, really exceed their expectations and give them exactly what they want.
So is it just you, or do you have a team of people just like you also helping others? Or
I do have a small team.
Nice.
I've got a clinical consultant that who happens to be my son, who also is in the dental industry, working for a different company. But so it is definitely a family business. And then I have a senior consultant, Courtney. She's a gem, and she's my senior consultant and my clinical specialist. So she loves helping practices on the clinical end. She's incredibly wonderful and talented. I also have an assistant who helps me with just my marketing and like social media and edits my videos. So we are likely in 2026 going to be adding to our team. We're kind of keeping our feelers out for that because we're right at that point where it's time to scale a little bit, but my team is pretty small, and I'm proud of that. So we really don't take on more than maybe a dozen doctors at one given time, so that they can get the attention that I want them to get.
Yeah, that makes sense. One thing, I mean, just to kind of go starting into AI, and you don't have to answer this as AI, but if you could solve one problem that is sort of either, I don't know, monotonous or sort of like annoying for you, or maybe it's just like not annoying, but just like it takes your time. If you could like wave a magic wand and make that go away or make it easier, what would that one problem in your business be, would you say?
Like for me personally?
Yeah.
Gosh. I think the most challenging thing for me is updating all of my notes for my clients. So before I get started with a client, I do like a discovery call where I learn all about them, their practice, their pain points, their goals, like their team members, all of that. I have them fill out a questionnaire. And so although all of my courses are a very content specific curriculum and incredibly detailed, I love to customize my training to the unique needs of that doctor. So I guess it's not even really a frustration. It just takes a little bit more time.
Yeah, it's customized.
How do I best customize that? They've given me all the information that I need, and I would love to be able to dial that in through AI to plug it into my curriculum quickly, rather than, piecemealing it together.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of sort of segues into the next thing, like pulling in the technology and tools and AI. What are some of the tools that you're using now, and or have you yet used them?
I really haven't. When I create my curriculum, which is like 100-page handbook, it's literally, everyone always asks like, oh, how do you get all this information? I'm like, it's 30 years of experience is how I get this information. I do drop it into like Grammarly just to like make sure there's no typos or, things like that. But I personally really don't use AI.
Yeah.
Other than that.
So if you could pull in a tool that could essentially take all that input that you get from a business and sort of spit out something that is a recommendation that you could add to your current course, to make it that one customized module, right? You might have like the basic modules for everything, but then this one's dedicated for the business. That would be something that could potentially be an option, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the tool is for that, but that would be great.
So another thing that I guess is time consuming is when I'm working with a client through my business coaching membership, and we're looking at data. I always like to compare, October's data this year to October's data last year, and I'm calculating the differences and I do that manually. What percentage increase or decrease did we have in these, dozen areas? So AI would be great for that too. But I'm just calculating the percentages and then just making notes. So I think that would also be a great tool as well.
Great. Well, cool. I mean, any other sort of, I don't know, last words of wisdom, or, sometimes like people like to put in here, how to contact them or how to reach out. So if you want to share your website or some information, that'd be great for the listeners.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for having me. You won't have any trouble finding me. You can just look up Shelly Bostrom or Align My Practice. My website is alignmypractice.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm out there. I'm not a TikToker. I do have a TikTok, but it's not my thing. But you can find me wherever you look.
Excellent. Shelly Bostrom, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.